So, an emotionally mature person. What is an emotionally mature person? Okay? It's this. They do not allow their feelings to get hurt quickly. They're not easily offended. Now, I want to tell you about something about John the Baptist. In Luke, I think it's 7. John the Baptist was put in prison. Jesus' ministry was flourishing. This is John the Baptist who said, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world," who leapt in his mother's womb when Mary came in, pregnant with Jesus. John the Baptist knew who Jesus was, and he's sitting in prison, about to be beheaded. So, and Jesus is out ministering to people, healing the sick. John said to 2 of his disciples, "Go ask Jesus, are you the one, or do we look for another?" In fact, it says it twice. So they went and asked Jesus, "Hey, John wants to know, are you the one, or do we look for another?" Wow. John was offended. It wasn't going like John thought it should. I can't really blame him. He's about to be beheaded for telling the truth to Herod. And he got bugged at Jesus because what he wanted Jesus to do, what he expected to happen, was not happening, and he became offended. Now, when my spouse walks up to me offended, the first thing I want to do is get offended right back. How dare you talk to me offended like that? You need to lower your voice when you're that offended, because now I'm offended that you're offended. Okay? Jesus didn't do that. Jesus said, "Go and tell John what you see and hear. The lame walk, the blind see." He didn't get all bugged at John. He didn't, go tell everybody about John and whatever. He didn't get offended that John's offended. He said, "Go and tell him." And then he said something really interesting. He said, "Blessed is he who does not get offended in me." See, the interesting thing about offense is, this is what happens with bitterness and resentment. It will always come back to God. You will always, if you go down the road of offended, you will take it all the way to being offended at God. See? Because if, my husband's doing this and I'm offended at him and I have prayed to you about this and you're not fixing it, or why did you give me this man, or how come I'm living like this, or whatever, it goes back to God and it will ruin your relationship with God. That's why you're blessed to not get offended. See, when somebody says something to you, they're coming from their point of view, their understanding, who they are. That's a mature emotional place to be in, to recognize I am not you and you're having all this over here, but you're describing you to me. It's not about me. That's an emotionally mature place. Now, little kids, the world revolves around them. I am the center of it. And anything you do and say is all about me. So if somebody's offended, it's got to be about me. It's not. In fact, there's this great saying that says, your opinion of me is none of my business. It isn't, because it's about you. If you come up today and say, "Hey, great job," that's not about the job I did. It's about how you liked it or not. If you come up and say, "Hey, lousy job," I'm going to go, "That's so not about me. I know I did a great job." See, it's not about you. It's not about you. Okay? So, getting not offended is all about the information somebody is giving you about themselves. If I don't like broccoli, how am I going to, if he doesn't like broccoli, which he doesn't, how am I going to get offended by that? So I do. He's just giving me information. Now, he may say, "Carol, I hate it when you make broccoli." Then that becomes an issue where I can decide, do I have a need to make broccoli or a want? See, I don't have to take it personally. So stop taking things personally. That's an emotionally mature person. I realize the world does not revolve around me. By the way, you get a $5 Starbucks card for asking a question. There you go. Great question. So if somebody's doing something and I'm hurt by it, okay? I'm not offended that they're doing it to hurt me. Okay, so you're not doing it on purpose, number one. Okay? if they're doing it on purpose, it's a whole different issue. Okay? But let's say you come and sit down at my house and you cross your legs and I'm seeing the bottom of your shoe. And that is such an offense to me. Okay? It's like you just flip me off if you show me the bottom of your shoe. Okay? Now, in relationship, I'm going to say, when you sit down at my house, you need to keep your feet on the floor if you don't mind, because when you put your shoe up, it says something really nasty to me. Okay? Now, if we're in a relationship, what are you going to do about that? How come you're going to keep your shoes down? There you go. Excellent. Excellent. And see, and I'm honoring you and telling you that instead of just going around going, man, I can't stand her in my house because she doesn't keep her shoes on. Okay? So the information you give me, I can make a choice with. Okay? Scott doesn't like broccoli. I'm not going to choose to never eat broccoli. But I'll open the door so it doesn't smell up the whole house when I cook it. Okay? And I won't sneak it and hide it in something for him. Okay? So I do, that's taking it into account. But what happens is we end up with this very offended place, or it's all about, oh man, I feel so bad and I'm so ashamed because I had my shoes up, and it's none of that. It's just information. Okay? It's just information. Is always willing to extend forgiveness and grace and keep good boundaries. Now, those go together. When I extend grace and forgiveness, that doesn't mean I keep letting you do the same thing over to me. If you hit me in the head with a baseball bat, and you say, oh, sorry, I go, okay, you know what, I forgive you, okay? And you come back and do it again. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to now move, okay? Because I need to take care of myself also. It's emotionally mature to take care of me also. So I say, you know what, I hate it when you hit me in the head with a bat. As long as you have a bat up, I got to step back. Okay? So you create good boundaries for yourself that keep you safe at the same time that you also extend forgiveness. Now, also, this is a huge point. If you give your spouse forgiveness, you guys have dealt with it. It's not like it's just been swept under the carpet or whatever. Some awful things happened. And you forgive them. That is going to keep coming up in your mind, all kinds of ways. If I have forgiven him, he is now out of that. I step back, and when that comes up, I don't go back at him and make him pay for it. I don't go back at him and ask him again, why? It's now my own sorry mess I got to clean up here. Because in forgiving him, I've said, okay, yes, we are clear on this. Now, when this comes up for me, I need to excuse myself and deal with it with me and the Lord. And sometimes other people in our lives. But it is not okay to go back at him, like, what did you do that for? When he's already said sorry. What are you going to do after sorry? Okay? So your responsibility in forgiveness is when you truly have done the work and forgiven, is now, when it comes back up in your mind, it is your responsibility to keep it out of your relationship with him. That doesn't mean you squish it. It means you excuse yourself when you're going to act ugly, and you go get help from somebody else to deal with it. Okay? Don't get to keep paying, making somebody pay for something over and over and over and over. Okay. All right. So, is afraid of telling their spouse something difficult and does it anyway. We're going to talk about that in a minute, about having your words be impeccable. But being afraid and doing it anyway is the definition of courage. Something you don't want to tell your spouse, be afraid and do it anyway. Ask for prayer at 6 o'clock when you're going to be telling them, get in a good place with the Lord to do it, but you've got to tell. Recognize that even though no may feel like rejection, it isn't all about you. Seek out a minion or a tribe to tell the hard truths to and to hold you accountable. We're going to talk more about that next week in you and community. But realize that you do hold yourself accountable to other people and how you behave. That helps a lot. The last one is be impeccable with your word. being impeccable with your word.